Hi there and welcome to Archery Today we are going to be talking fletchings, and we're going to be talking Bohning fletchings. We got some fletchings through from Bohning a couple of weeks back, and they're from the Impulse range. So they're new from Bohning, and they're these are the Bohning 3-inch Impulses, and there's also a 4-inch version of it. So these fletchings are designed to be a little bit slimmer, and this is they employed some aerodynamic engineers to come up with a different form of fletching to rival the spin wing, essentially. And what they came up with is an idea to create a slimmer profile. And they did some testing, and they came up with a number of a third of an inch. For you metrics out there, that's 7.6 millimeters, to help with clearance to get the arrow out of the bow. And whilst doing this, they wanted to keep traditional with a vein rather than a slice of sheet plastic like the Mylar spin wings are. And they did it to keep that structure there of an actual fletching. Now, of course, because it's a fletching rather than a thin piece of material, there is going to be a bit of drop. It is a heavier vein. Now, on the website, they did predict a drop of 5 centimeters at 80 meters, but realistically, in my testing, I found a drop of about 30 centimeters. I think that's because I'm shooting a lower poundage bow than they must have been doing in their tests, and I think I shoot mine with a little bit more of a helical than they shoot with a straight in theirs. I'll go into the reasoning behind that later on. So the profile of the fletching was crafted by these aerodynamic engineers, and they did that through the medium of mathematics. So essentially what I've fletched up one of these. These are the ones that I shoot with out of my recurve bow. So what they've done here is they've got 2 points of interest where they focus on. They've got the center of mass, which is up here for me, which is there for me. And then they've got this what they call the center of pressure, which is essentially incorporating all of the drag that would be running through it over with the wind. They've placed the center of pressure, which is where the most amount of drag is positioned on the arrow, and they've sculpted it with this profile. So they've built up so it's a low front end of the fletching and a higher back end, and they've positioned that angle in a way where they've pushed the center of pressure as far back and essentially further away from the center of mass, so that it creates a more stable arrow in flight. Now, that's quite. They explain that a lot more complicated on the video that I watched that they sent me. So essentially, that's the simple version of it. They went a lot into detail. So yeah, they've created with the balancing act that they've performed. They've matched the stability of the Mylar vane, the spin wing. I found that they matched that with a straight fletching, and what I went on to do is, when I was shooting with them personally, I found that with a slight helical, so a slight angle on the fletching. I'm trying to see if you can get and see. So a slight angle on the fletching made them spin a little bit faster, and got them to come out of the bow straight, nice and straight, and flying perfectly dead straight all the way down the range, which was really nice to see. Okay, wind resistance. So you might be thinking, that's a big big area of contact for the wind to be pushing against. But that's where that weight that was mentioned earlier comes into a benefit. So with spin wings, the wind would push across them, and because it's such a light back end, it would get dragged across. Then eventually the whole arrow would drift across because it's being dragged from the tail. Now with these arrows, because that little bit more mass is there, it flies down, and if the wind's pushing against it, it pushes against it evenly all across. So you don't find that the Fletchings dragging the whole arrow across like you would with the spin wings. And one thing I need to mention is these Fletchings are not standard plastic ones. These they feel like a foam, like a composite foam, and this feeds back into the material kind of thing. They've designed it to be able to take a lot of impact and be able to act like a feather, and instead of being ripped apart by an arrow rest or anything like that, they wanted it to collapse down whilst it's being passed through the riser. So yeah, they wanted to pass through the riser with minimal contact, with minimal resistance through contact. So with that, they've got this foam based thing to create a lighter Fletching as well, and that foam is able to compress and move without breaking. Nice little thing that they threw that as a byproduct, I feel, when you're using your, let's grab that, when you use your Bohning Fletching glue, you find that when you're applying the glue across the base of the Fletching, it changes the composition of the material to be a kind of a semi-solid texture, which allows for a more solid kind of adhesion to the shaft. And so far it's created some really solid. I mean, I can just do that and nothing happens to it. That's solid on there. That's not coming off. I mean, I've got a 4-inch version of it all fletched up for my indoor arrows, and again, these, you can just rip these apart and nothing's happening. They're on solid. Right. So you might have noticed on that I've got quite a big helical on there. Now, I was only able to get that amount of helical. I just wanted to push it how far I can, and a really nice touch to what they've done on both the 3-inch and the 4-inch. They've created a really deep valley on the underside, on the gluing surface, so that it's got that big kind of structure, so that you can get the most amount of Fletching touching the shaft as much as possible, which again creates a really solid adhesion between Fletching and the shaft. So they've got a few other variations of the Impulse vein. They've got a version for the compound archers called Dukes, which is a 2-inch vein. It's slightly taller because you don't have as much issues with clearance, so it's 10 millimeters tall. They come in colours other than pink, but yeah, I haven't had a chance to test these, but these are made from that same material. They've got all the same features, like that really deep valley, and should be good to test. And they've also got another 4-inch version of these, but these are again slightly taller, but they've actually tweaked the material on these ones to be able to take a little bit more contact and a little bit more damage coming to it, and still be able to withstand the forces involved. So these would be really cool to try on a I don't know. They say that they wanted to imitate a proper feather with these, so it'd be cool to kind of have a go with them and see what we come out with. So that pretty much wraps up all I wanted to talk about the impulse vanes. Hope you enjoyed this. If you've got some information for me about the vanes, how you've shot with them, that would be great to get some feedback on that. And talking of feedback, if you want to get in contact with us, we've got, if you go to Facebook, we've got /ArcheryBuzz. If you're going to go to Twitter, we've got @ArcheryBuzz. And of course, we're on YouTube, so check out our other videos. And thank you very much for watching. And feel free to comment and stay tuned.